So today we will be working on our adductors, getting a stretch there. Things that we will use: props, a block or stack of books if you don't have a block, a folded up towel. I just fold this one in half twice and then a third time. So half, end to end, end to middles, and then side to side, folded. A little square here for padding, and a roller. To begin, we're going to start off with the roller. We're going to roll out the inner thigh here and up into the groin. So that's where our adductors hook in. They hook in right there onto the pelvis. So start with the roller, lengthwise up and down. We're going to extend the left leg back, straight back, and come down with like a froggy leg onto the roller. You might already start feeling this. So, options here. If up on your arms like this is as much as you can take, that's fine. Stay here. Because you'll feel some sensation certainly in the muscles here. Maybe you come down on your elbows onto a block. Maybe it feels fine and you can come down onto your forearms right onto the earth. So to begin, we're just going to roll, and you'll start to feel it. You're going to roll that roller right up towards the groin. So slowly walk it there. Great. Maybe you're supporting more weight with your arms. And perhaps you can begin to soften right here. Allowing, I'm going to come down onto my forearms, allowing the pelvis to just soften. No tucking of the tailbone just for yet, just keeping it a little tilt perhaps to fit right into that crease. And now from here, let's take 3 deep breaths in through the nose, out the nose, in the nose, out the nose, in the nose, and out. Wonderful. Now, engage the low belly. Pull belly button towards spine, and that begins to tilt the pelvis. So the tailbone starts to tuck towards the earth. Notice how that changes the sensation in the body. Maybe even closing the eyes to try and just really tune into what the body is feeling. And then soften again, allowing the tailbone to tip back up towards the sky. And then once more, tucking the tailbone, pulling belly button to spine. You're lifting the frontal hip points towards the ribs. Nice. Now we're going to begin to allow the roller to move down the leg, down the right thigh, towards the knee, but slowly. We're walking it really slow so we can feel it along the way. Allow the right leg to be nice and soft. You can keep engagement of belly button to spine, tailbone tucked. And you might find a spot that needs a little bit more breath. All the while coming back to the breath, right? We don't want to stop breathing through this whole process, paying attention, breathing in and out through the nose. Smooth, long inhales, smooth, long exhales. And we make our way down the thigh towards the knee. And then let's move back up the thigh towards the groin, moving slowly, breathing deeply. And then playing with your own body, noticing what happens if I keep the engagement in my belly and do this movement. What happens if I release the engagement from my belly, allowing my tailbone to point up more up towards the sky and do this movement. Noticing sensations. Not attaching any sort of label to the sensation of good, bad, or the other. If it's pain and it's saying, stop, go no further, then of course honor that. And now let's move back and forth once or twice. And then we'll come back up onto the hands and knees, and we'll switch over to the second side. Take the roller underneath the left thigh, right leg straight behind you, lower down thigh onto roller, forearms towards the earth or onto a block. And from here, take the roller up to the crease of groin. I like to have mine on a little bit of an angle since there's an angle there between thigh and hip. And again, 3 deep breaths in and out through the nose, allowing the pelvis to be soft, or allowing the belly to be soft here. In through the nose and out through the nose. 3 times. At the end of that 3rd breath, on the inhale, pull belly button to spine, begin to tuck tailbone towards the earth more, pulling frontal hip points up. Notice how that affects the muscles right in the crease there of the hip. And then release that, softening through the belly, letting the tailbone point up towards the sky. And then again, pull belly button towards spine, tuck tailbone, frontal hip points lift. And now let's begin the rolling. Rolling out, down towards the knee, nice and slow. Moving slowly, breathing deeply. Keep that mantra, move slow, breathe deep. Letting the left leg be nice and slack as we do the roll. Noticing if ever it gets tight. And then once we get towards the knee, we stop and walk back the other direction, keeping the left leg nice and slack. Maybe you find a spot that needs a little more breath. And then playing with either the pelvis tilted or released, noticing how it affects your body. Just noticing sensations, seeing what comes up, breathing all the while. Once or twice more on this dynamic movement of rolling back and forth. And then let's release that. Come on to hands and knees. Take the roller away. Let's take the folded up towel underneath the left knee. Hands come out in front of you, underneath your shoulders. It's like you're in tabletop position. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Whenever we're on our hands, to take the weight out of the wrists, we want to press into all 10 fingertips and then work down the knuckles until you hit the circumference of the hand, those base knuckles around the circumference of the palm. So hands under shoulders, pressing down to all 10 fingers, rooting down into those knuckles, and then step the right foot out to the side. So it's just directly out from the hip. And from here, slight engagement of the belly to spine. We're just gonna play with what it feels like to rotate the thigh in the hip socket. So the toes lift from the earth up towards the sky. We come onto the heel. There's a tilt of the pelvis. Just notice what activates, what happens in the body. Breathing in and out through the nose. And there's a slight bend in that extended right leg. Okay, with toes down on the earth, rock forward and back from the hips. Bring shoulders beyond wrists, bringing hips back towards heel, back and forth, noticing what you feel, where you feel it, breathing through the nose. And then we'll lift the toes up towards the sky. So we've got that external rotation in the thigh, and we sink the hips back, noticing what you feel, where you feel it. Forward, all the while pressing into the fingers, breathing in and out smoothly through the nose. And maybe there's an area that you'd like to hold and breathe for a little bit. And keeping a slight bend in the right knee is always advised. And then let's just come through center, shoulders over wrists, right toes back to the earth. Bring the right knee to the earth. You're in tabletop again. Scoot hips back, shift the towel over to the second side. So now right knee comes down to the towel. Set the hands up, setting up for our second side here in tabletop. Press into all 10 fingers, slight scooping of the elbows towards the midline. Notice how the eyes of my elbows are pointing forward because I'm scooping my elbows in. External rotation of the arms here. Extend the left leg out beside you, straight out from the hip. Start with toes down towards the earth. Slight bend in the knee. Belly button to spine, slight tuck of the tailbone, slight. And then from here, we're just moving forward and back. Notice what you feel and where. Moving slowly with attention to the body and the breath, in and out through the nose. Let's come back through center, direct the toes up towards the sky. And maybe doing a little windshield wipe to see what you feel and where. With the toes, moving that hip in the socket. And then we'll stay with the toes up towards the sky, and then we'll rock those hips again. Moving forward and back, breathing deeply in and out through the nose. Maybe even the eyes closed to tap into what you feel and where. And keep that engagement pressing down through the fingers. Slight bend in that extended leg, over the knee of the extended leg. And then perhaps you find a spot that you'd like to hold and breathe. Sending more breath to those tight places so that you can offer some space, just coming to the edges. Maybe you find another spot to hold and breathe. Finding somewhere else to soften, maybe through the face even, through the throat. And then let's release that. Come back through tabletop, scoot the hips back. So the next thing we're gonna do will probably require the towel to be rolled up a second time, or even maybe just take it lengthwise like this and then roll it. We're gonna create a little bit of a bolster for underneath the heel of the foot. So we'll take it over to your left side. Have the block close by in case this isn't tall enough. I think it will be, but just have the block close by if you need a little bit more space. So we're gonna come up onto our feet, step the feet wide, about a leg's distance in between your feet. You can have the block here if you need some height lifted. And then we're gonna come up onto the left toes and sink the heel down onto that roll. Nice. So from here, we're gonna sink the hips over towards that left heel and bring the toes of the right foot up towards the sky. Take the left tricep to the inside of the left knee and take the left hand onto the floor, maybe onto a block. Slight bend in this right knee here. Feel the rotation, inner thigh towards outer thigh of the right leg. So from here, we're trying to lift the heart, drop tailbone towards the earth. All the while, slight bend in that knee there. Breathe into those adductors. Keep pressing that tricep to knee, and then roll perhaps the chest towards the sky. Maybe the right arm can reach up. And then play with what happens when I drop my chest towards the earth, when I lift it up, when I open, exploring what sensations come from these simple movements with this leg extended, slight bend in the knee, keeping hypertension out of the knee. A few more breaths here, in and out through the nose. Maybe you find somewhere that you would like to hold and breathe. You might shift the weight forward and back a bit. And then we'll just Bring those right toes back to the earth, bending the knee, coming back through straight legs. And then shift the roll over to the right side. Take the right heel onto the roll. So we have a little lifted heel here. And again, if the roll is not enough, you just take the block underneath the heel instead. And so let's sink the hips towards that right heel. As we sink the hips towards the right heel, our hands are down on the earth in front of us, maybe on a block. Bring the left toes up towards the sky, externally rotating from inner thigh to outer thigh, left leg. Slight bend in that left knee. Nice. So from here, the right tricep presses into the right knee. The right knee presses back into the tricep. And then we're directing the tailbone towards the earth. Maybe your hands can come to your heart center to lift that heart up. Keep that slight bend in the right or in the left knee, pardon me, toes up towards the sky. Breathing in and out through the nose. And release the hands to the earth. If they were lifted, keeping the right hand on the earth, maybe left arm reaches up. And then playing with this movement, letting the chest collapse towards the earth, letting it lift, pressing back, rocking forward. Exploring what these movements do for your body, all the while breathing and maybe finding a spot where some more breath is appreciated. Finding a spot where you can soften into the edge of the stretch. You might even play with moving the toes forward and back, little rotation in the thigh, see what happens. One more breath, 2 more breaths. And then the sole of the left foot comes back to the earth, straighten into the legs. We're just going to take the back heel, the right heel off the roll, move the roll aside, and maybe hands on blocks here. Maybe you can dip forward, just get a stretch to the back of the legs, inner thighs rolling towards the back. A little shifting, just to feel what you feel. And then we'll upright, we'll come down onto knees. Sink back for a moment. And then we'll come to standing for the final stretch. For this final stretch, we're going to begin with a wide stance. But we don't want the feet crossed over one another. So take the right foot out to the right slightly. And the back heel comes down. So let me move this way so you can see. Okay. So my toes are much further in than my heel is. They're on a sharp angle. And then my front foot, pardon me, I'm pressing into the ball of the foot with a straight leg. Slight bend in that front knee. Pull the right hip, that's my front foot, pull the right hip back, direct the left hip forward. Press down so firmly into this back heel that this leg stays nice and straight. Begin to bend into this front knee. And then from here, you're just gonna breathe. Get some more space into the psoas here. And then playing with that tucking of the pelvis or tilting back and forth, maybe opening the hips some. So you're just exploring what these movements do in your body. You don't want to bend further than 90 degrees in this front leg, but you have the freedom to explore. You can even have this back foot in, or the front foot in closer. Just trying, seeing what you feel. Another breath or 2. Maybe find a spot to hold and breathe. Nice, and then let's just switch sides. So left foot moves out to the left. Maybe you're lined up heel to heel. It's probably wider than that. Press into that back leg, rooting that right heel down into the earth, strong back leg. Pull the right hip forward, pull the left hip back, bend into the left knee. So we're trying to square the hips towards the edge of the mat, front or back edge, wherever you're at. And then you're playing with the pelvis tilt, seeing if you can lift those frontal hip points up. Keep that back leg nice and straight so you can get this stretch. Maybe opening And closing a little bit with the hips, breathing here. All in and out through the nose. Keep that strong back leg. Maybe find a spot. A few more breaths. And then let's release that. Let's come down onto the knees. Take the block in between the heels. So the ankles hug the block. You can be on the medium height. And then sit bones come down onto the block. Close your eyes. Take 3 rounds of breath here. And that's your adductor practice.